The man was expelled from the demon army by the demon king simply because he couldn't use magic. This man was a soldier of the demon army. Yet because of this, he discovered a new life. Despite being unable to use magic, he possessed strength, surpassing even the human hero. He simultaneously mastered the roles of swordsman, archer, warrior, and tank, and possessed immense energy within him rivaling that of a god. Even adventurers who had trained rigorously for 20 years were directly driven to tears. Not long ago, Dariel was a low-ranking soldier of the demon race. He was fired by the new demon king for being unable to use magic. Thus, Dariel left the demon army. Suddenly, losing his job made him resent his own incompetence, and he began searching for a new life. After walking an unknown distance, Dariel got lost in the forest and hadn't eaten for several days. At that moment, a girl rushed out, with a monster chasing after her. Dariel blocked the monster without a second thought. Though he wasn't particularly strong, he couldn't stand idly by when others were in trouble. Unable to use magic, Dariel had to fight in close combat. However, the monster knocked him flying with a single punch. Being so hungry left Dariel barely able to fight back. Then, a dagger on the ground caught his attention. It was extremely shameful for a demon to wield weapons forged by humans, but with his life at stake, Dariel had no choice but to do this. Expecting a difficult battle, the monster died instantly after just one blow. Dariel was perplexed by such an easy fight, but he decided to leave despite his doubts. However, the girl grabbed Dariel, wanting to treat him to a meal to repay him for saving her life. Having starved for days, Dariel hesitated for a moment. Then, despite his objections, the girl pulled him toward her home. Dariel was soon brought to the girl's home. He felt extremely uneasy since this was a human village where he would surely be killed if discovered as a member of the demon race. After brief introductions, the girl Marika asked Dariel why he had appeared in the forest. Dariel had already prepared his answer. The boss's son had inherited the family business and dismissed him. Having previously lived in the company dormitory, he became homeless after losing his job. Hearing Dariel's plight, Marika sympathized deeply and invited him to stay in the village to repay his life-saving deed. Marika's father Enbil found this feasible as the village happened to be short-handed. Dariel felt greatly troubled. He had only wanted a meal, yet he reluctantly agreed due to their persistent hospitality. After settling Dariel, Enbil suggested he join the Adventurers Guild, as Enbil happened to be the guildmaster, and Dariel's physique suited the profession perfectly. Panic surged through Dariel, knowing the guild's registration ceremony could only be passed by humans. He had witnessed too many demonic spies fall victim to this. To ensure his safety, Dariel decided to feign illness and escape. However, Enbil instructed Marika to assist him with the ceremony. Before Dariel could react, the ritual commenced. Just as he feared his demonic identity would be exposed, the registration concluded successfully, granting Dariel the status of a Class A adventurer. This abrupt twist left him stunned. Raised among demons, he now discovered he was actually human. After becoming an adventurer, Enbil taught Dariel how to wield power. Humans cannot use magic, but they can harness aura, a human magic that enhances weapon capabilities. Enbil instructed Dariel to select a weapon to sense aura. Dariel succeeded effortlessly on his first try, as he had attempted similar practices in his childhood. Back then, he had focused on sensing mana, which yielded no results. Seeing Dariel's success, Enbil had him test 4 types of aura to find one that suited him. Starting with the sword-based aura type, Dariel felt nervous gripping a sword for the first time. Though he doubted his ability, using aura allowed him to cleanly slice a wooden stump in 2. Enbil expressed surprise. Next, Enbil instructed Dariel to try the bow-based aura type. Dariel drew his bow fully and shot at an apple, but the arrow toppled all the trees behind it. This sight left Enbil unable to believe his eyes. After testing these 2 types, Enbil had Dariel attempt the hammer-based aura type. With just a light tap, the rock shattered into powder. Enbil felt frustrated, having never achieved such strength in his 30 years as an adventurer. To save face, Enbil conducted an unfair test using the shield-based aura type. Even so, Dariel effortlessly sent Enbil flying while holding a wooden shield. After completing the tests, Enbil concluded that Dariel's aura was compatible with all weapon types, and each mastery was of the highest caliber. Enbil advised Dariel to seek opportunities in a large city, where top organizations would eagerly recruit him upon witnessing his strength. Though venturing out held appeal, Dariel preferred to settle in the village. Having worked for the Demon King's army for 32 years, he longed for relaxation. Enbil respected Dariel's choice and introduced him to the villagers. While most welcomed him warmly, Gashida, the village's D-rank adventurer, looked down on Dariel. Enbil told Dariel not to mind him, describing Gashida as arrogant, and added that Dariel's presence might shake him up, just as Enbil himself had been inspired that day. Despite being a former A-rank adventurer, Enbil was clearly no match for Dariel. Enbil then assigned Dariel a commission, which originally belonged to Gashida but had remained uncompleted for half a month. After glancing at the task details, Dariel felt the described magical beast seemed familiar. It turned out to be the very one he had eliminated days earlier. Back then, he had assumed the beast was weak, but now it appeared his own strength with a weapon was exceptional. As one of only 2 adventurers in the village, Dariel had unintentionally defeated a monster Gashida persistently failed to handle. Enbil urged Gashida to properly thank Dariel, but instead, Gashida grabbed a new monster commission from the table, taunting that Dariel was only fit for herb-gathering tasks and vowing to prove his own superiority. However, since Dariel had defeated the magical beast, Enbil promoted his adventurer rank to D. Immediately afterward, Marika offered to guide Dariel. Though Dariel intended to spare her from venturing into the dangerous outskirts, Marika reassured him, explaining that adventurers were only needed for perilous deep forests or troublesome situations. Soon, the two arrived before a small cliff, and without hesitation, Marika began climbing upward. From below, Dariel glimpsed under her skirt. Once they reached the top to prevent separation, Marika suggested holding hands or even hugging. Dariel ultimately chose to hold hands. The required herbs lay in the clearing ahead, yet Dariel sensed Marika seemed far more adept at adventurer work. At that moment, Marika noticed Dariel had picked the wrong plants. The herbs specified in the commission had serrated edges around their leaves, and only 1 leaf needed to be taken per plant to allow future harvests. Dariel's gratitude made Marika blush. Later, Marika effortlessly lifted a tree trunk and spotted deer tracks nearby, while Dariel could discern nothing. He suspected Marika could have single-handedly slain the magical beast during their first encounter, yet she had displayed fear of combat, thus making him her savior. Shyly shifting, she expressed hope that Dariel would call her by her first name. Dariel then noticed the deer nearby. At first, he found them cute, but some deer were not only ill-tempered but also martial arts experts. This particular deer caught an ant monster and thoroughly pummeled it. Marika prepared to take down both creatures together. Afterward, she credited all the success to Dariel. Only Gashida left feeling wronged, for Dariel had once again snatched away his prey. At this time, Enbil was troubled because Dariel had snatched away 2 of Gashida's monster commissions. However, Marika believed this wasn't Dariel's fault, stating that engaging monsters upon encounter was common sense. Enbil also worried about another matter. He held a commission that only C-rank adventurers could accept. While adventurers from neighboring towns ranked C or higher would handle it, they still needed to exercise caution. Gashida might also attempt to hunt it. Marika feared Gashida might trespass into another guild's territory, potentially causing her father to be held accountable. Dariel assured them he would go to stop Gashida, and this time he declined Marika's company. Marika thoughtfully prepared potions using the herbs they had gathered for Dariel, watching him depart with reluctance. At that moment, Dariel felt a sense of foreboding. Since his time with the Demon King's army, he knew ignoring such premonitions always led to regret. Immediately afterward, movement erupted from the distant woods. Gashida burst out from the trees, pursued by a basilisk. Dariel recognized this monster was unlike any before. A moment of carelessness meant instant death. Yet, the basilisk charged past him, continuing its pursuit of Gashida. Seeing escape was impossible, Gashida fired an arrow with all his strength, but it failed to pierce the basilisk's hide. Just as the basilisk was about to swallow Gashida, Dariel activated Aura and struck the basilisk's head. The beast, writhing in pain, lashed its tail at Dariel. Although Dariel blocked the attack, his weapon shattered. Now he faced only 2 choices: shatter the basilisk's hide, or fire the broken sword remnant. Refusing to choose, he decided on both. Simultaneously activating 2 types of aura, he shot the broken sword into the serpent's mouth, blasting a huge hole through the basilisk from within. However, Gashida had been bitten. Convinced he might die, he was saved when Dariel administered the antidote Marika had prepared. Seeing the commission, she had known the basilisk was venomous. Dariel quickly gathered nearby hemostatic herbs, rubbing them into a paste in his hands and applying the juice to Gashida's wound. Gashida questioned how he knew so much. Dariel explained he learned it all while doing herb-gathering commissions, understanding that everything in the world is connected, and even seemingly mundane things hold value. Through this battle, Gashida was utterly convinced by Dariel. The very next day, Gashida declared himself Dariel's subordinate. As someone saved by Dariel, he longed to fight alongside him soon. Dariel felt helpless at how rapidly the world changed. Not long ago, he was just a low-ranking soldier in the Demon King's army, yet now he had become someone's leader. He began to wonder if the four kings were still battling the hero. Meanwhile, within the Demon King's castle, Zeviantes, one of the four kings, had just been defeated by the hero's party. Zeviantes squarely blamed the failure on faulty intelligence, as no one had reported the hero's new companion. She dismissed the intelligence advisor responsible. Since Dariel's dismissal, his position had already cycled through several replacements. Droys argued that Dariel should be recalled. Citing his impeccable performance during his tenure, he even managed the four kings' health and thoughtfully covered for her during her menstrual discomfort. Only after his departure did she realize how essential Dariel's abilities were to the four kings. However, Bashvaza refused to admit the mistake in dismissing Dariel and forbade anyone from mentioning his name. Meanwhile, Dariel's life in the village grew increasingly comfortable, yet he noticed many empty houses, sparking his curiosity. Enbil informed Dariel that the village was once a transport hub for mithril ore. As an extremely valuable metal, mithril had triggered a centuries-long war of contention between humans and demons. Ultimately, the mines fell into demon hands, and the village gradually fell into disuse. Learning the history of the mithril mines, Dariel resolved to return to the mines to negotiate, since it was his former workplace. He intended to get some ore from his old colleagues to help the village. Upon entering the mines, the gnomes were overjoyed to see him, lining up for head pats. The gnomes expressed that since Dariel left, they had to work overtime daily. Their new supervisor devised various methods to exploit them, even bringing in a commander who got the position through nepotism. This guy outright canceled the gnomes' vacations, instantly triggering their rebellion. They declared anyone who did such things was a scoundrel. However, these gnomes were not combat personnel and stood no chance against the demon soldiers. Dariel could not stand by and watch the gnomes be sacrificed. Thus, he disguised himself and, relying on years of combat experience, managed to repel a group of soldiers. He then shaved the foolish commander bald and ordered him to scram immediately. This series of actions directly reclaimed the mithril mines, leaving Enbil utterly astonished. He promptly reported the situation to the National Guild. For the mines' return not only revitalized the village but also reinstated the gnomes as human employees. A truly great achievement. Marika was so delighted she nearly hugged Dariel hard enough to fling him into another word. However, adventurers from the National Guild who learned of this matter believed that Dariel, a low-ranking adventurer, must have merely gotten lucky to claim the credit. Dariel countered them with facts, proving he was not only the key figure in reclaiming the mines but had also defeated various high-level monsters, earning the villagers' cheers and respect, forcing his opponents to retreat. Once back, Marika was displeased. She declared she would not let anyone off lightly who dared to look down on Dariel. Fortunately, Dariel stopped her in time. Yet the peace did not last long, as a magic circle's light appeared in the sky, proclaiming the Demon King's pardon to the gnomes and attempting to recall them. Hearing the commotion in the forest, Dariel immediately rushed over and discovered the visitor was actually his old colleague from the Demon King's army, Lizette. Upon seeing Dariel, Lizette immediately poured out her grievances. Since Dariel left, the Demon King's army had descended into utter chaos. He then invited Dariel to return to work, mentioning that even the succubi in the castle missed him. However, Dariel firmly drew a line. He was now human, and he had a wife, so he would definitely not return to that wretched organization. At most, he could help the demons solve their current problems. He then took Lizette back to the village for a detailed analysis of the situation. He pointed out that the mithril mines now belonged to humans. If the demons tried to reclaim them through war, both sides would suffer heavy losses. However, if they sold mithril at 4 times the market price, it could not only meet the demons' needs but also ease relations between the two races. Lizette readily agreed to this proposal, but the captain of the National Guild squad wanted to kill the demon. Derry decisively blocked the attack, emphasizing that this trade was to avoid bloodshed on both sides. Ultimately, the mine's manager accepted Derry's proposal, and the mithril trade plan was agreed upon. Derry was very satisfied with this outcome. This move protected human interests while also easing relations with the demons. After all, as a human raised by demons, Derry held deep affection for both races. This truly achieved the best of both worlds. With the ore source secured, the next step was to head to the forge. Derry prepared to seek out the village's best blacksmith, only to discover the adventurer squad leader had gotten there first and was scoffing and driving him away. Upon learning of this, Enbil explained that because Derry had reclaimed the mine, the adventurer squad leader had been expelled and could no longer profit from it. At that moment, Marika arrived and took Derry to find the village's old blacksmith. Unexpectedly, upon seeing Derry, the old blacksmith immediately called him useless. Marika retorted that Derry had defeated a basilisk using just a broken sword. The old blacksmith quickly grabbed Derry's hand, explaining that just a touch could reveal the other person's aura type. To his surprise, Derry perfectly possessed all types of capability. Overjoyed, the old blacksmith revealed his identity. He was the master smith specialized in forging mithril. He then demonstrated the potential of mithril ore using his forging skill, effortlessly crafting a giant blue sword. Derry felt this sword was different from others. His aura instantly flowed into it. With a light swing, Derry cleanly cut through a large tree. Witnessing this, the squad leader abandoned his dignity and begged the old blacksmith to forge one for him too. However, the old blacksmith ignored him, as he intended to help Derry craft a peerless divine weapon. Consumed by jealousy, the squad leader privately approached Derry, attempting to recruit him to betray the National Guild together and seize control of the mine's profits. Derry, of course, refused. Humiliated and enraged, the squad leader immediately challenged Derry to a duel. Though Enbil worried for Derry's safety, Derry firmly insisted on fighting for the village. That very night, the old blacksmith specifically called Derry aside to teach him the combat techniques for the new weapon. The next day, the adventurer squad leader arrived fully equipped with high-grade gear, while Derry carried only the dagger forged by the old blacksmith. This drew mockery from the squad leader. Yet upon clashing, it became clear this dagger could channel aura to alter its length and possessed unparalleled sharpness, instantly shattering the squad leader's weapon. Forced to draw his mithril greatsword, the squad leader was stunned as Derry transformed the dagger into a long whip, defeating both him and his weapon in a single strike, decisively ending the duel. Subsequently, the squad leader faced punishment from the National Guild, but Derry pleaded for leniency, suggesting the squad leader only needed to repair the damaged houses. This display of magnanimity not only shamed the squad leader but also earned Derry newfound respect from the National Guild official, who even extended an invitation for him to work there. Overhearing this while passing by, Marika felt mixed emotions. Derry himself wavered, considering that joining the National Guild might help him uncover more information, perhaps even clues about his parents. As Derry hesitated, Marika suddenly burst into the sauna room and finally gathered the courage to confess her feelings to Derry, promising to support him wherever he chose to go. Her sincerity deeply moved Derry, strengthening his resolve to stay and repay her unwavering devotion. He admitted Marika was precisely the person he couldn't bear to leave. Hearing this, Marika burst into tears. Derry gently wiped them away and gave her a deep kiss. On the other side, Bashvaza, one of the four kings, found his father Granbaza doing rehab exercises. The wounds left by the hero healed faster, with proper movement. He began questioning whether Bashvaza had followed Dariel's advice at work. When Granbaza's generation of the four kings retired, it caused a huge uproar, not only because they were the strongest four kings in history, but also due to concerns about the next generation being too young. It was Dariel who dispelled these doubts. Only by keeping him, the key advisor to the former four kings, could the opposition be calmed. While passing the seat of the four kings to Bashvaza, Granbaza had told him that the greatest encounter of his life was meeting Dariel. Now, Bashvaza lied, claiming Dariel was still by his side. Enraged, Granbaza flipped the table and punched Bashvaza away. He couldn't believe his own son had personally let go of a talent like Dariel. If Bashvaza wanted to remain one of the four kings, he must beg Dariel to return. But Bashvaza refused, arguing that a position held only with someone else's help was meaningless. He would prove his own strength. Granbaza was deeply disappointed by Bashvaza's reaction. He wondered what Dariel was doing now, unaware that Dariel had slept with Enbil's daughter. The next day, Dariel appeared completely drained, his exhaustion even noticed by Enbil. Awkwardness filled the air as Dariel worked alongside Enbil after sleeping with his daughter. Then, Marika's mother asked Dariel to help air out futons and requested him to always treat Marika well. Dariel realized the secret was out. Knowing he must take responsibility as a man, he already envisioned marrying Marika and starting a family. Suddenly, Enbil approached him with an axe. Enbil stated that he was getting old and that the future belonged to Dariel and Marika. Assuming Enbil knew about the incident, Dariel tried to speak first, but Enbil simply wanted Dariel to succeed him as village chief. As the greatest contributor to restoring the village's prosperity, no one was more suited. Dariel agreed to succeed his future father-in-law, but first asked for Marika's hand in marriage. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed since Dariel married Marika. With the power of mithril weapons, the village entered its most prosperous era. Dariel had also successfully become a father, naming his son Gran after the man he revered like a father, the powerful man who had raised him for 30 years. Memories of his life in the demon realm felt as vivid as yesterday. Suddenly, Gashida announced grave news. The hero was coming to the village. The so-called hero bore the mission to defeat the Demon King. After enduring the National Guild's grueling trials, only one could claim this title, making them the world's strongest adventurer. Yet to the Demon Clan, they were merely a murderer. Dariel had personally witnessed during his time in the demon realm that every enemy discovered by the hero was executed without exception. Thinking the hero was targeting him, Dariel reluctantly accepted the task of welcoming the hero when his father-in-law entrusted him with the responsibility. Concealing half his face and preparing weapons for self-defense, he was surprised to find this generation's hero was a girl. The hero noticed Dariel's unease. He explained he hadn't expected the hero to be a girl. It turned out the previous hero had retired after being injured in battle against the Demon Clan. The hero's companions never imagined such a remote place held the key to defeating the Demon King mithril weapons. That was precisely why the hero had come. However, this hero's party seemed unreliable, even writing cheat notes on their hands to remind themselves how to act as heroes. Dariel found this utterly ridiculous. Gran, who had been crying and fussing at home, instantly quieted upon seeing the hero. The hero, fond of children, offered to help take care of him. Following that, Dariel led the hero's party to the forge. The hero's target was the unique mithril ore found here for crafting weapons. Its greatest feature was its astonishingly high aura conductivity. Satome from the hero's party tried it and made a troubled expression. Seeing this, the hero demanded that Dariel quickly find someone to custom make her weapon. Consequently, Dariel found the old blacksmith's apprentice, to whom the old blacksmith had imparted all his forging techniques. He was now the village's top weaponsmith. He then began examining the hero's hands. Dariel explained that he could determine aura type by examining the hands. The hero then stated she wanted to find a fourth teammate. Gashita offered to help. Thus, the first hero's party selection tournament officially began. Dariel was surprised by how enthusiastic the adventurers were. Satomi explained that as long as their goal was to defeat the Demon King, they could receive various forms of support from the National Guild. The selection method for the hero's companions was straightforward. All 26 adventurers present attacked the hero's 3-member party simultaneously. Although the hero's party wasn't seriously fighting, all 26 were defeated in moments. The hero had assumed this would end inconclusively again, when suddenly a sharp arrow grazed her shoulder. She then dodged several more arrows, commenting that Gashida's accuracy was poor. Unexpectedly, the arrows that hit the ground turned around and shot back at her. While the hero used her wooden sword to deflect the arrows, Gashida's bow was already aimed precisely at her. Seeing this, the hero decided to get serious, but her skill casting was interrupted by an apple thrown by Dariel because he knew Gashida couldn't dodge her next attack. Gashida dejectedly said he was unworthy of being Dariel's follower. But over the past year, he had become a B-rank adventurer and was now the strongest adventurer in the village. However, the hero sensed even greater power from Dariel and immediately attacked him with her sword. Forced to defend, Dariel suppressed her attack, then transformed his dagger into a whip and flung the hero away. Their battle raged from the ground all the way to the mountain peak. With one sword strike, the hero leveled the mountain peak. She was very satisfied with Dariel's formidable strength. To show respect, she drew her own sword and unleashed her ultimate technique, a technique Dariel had witnessed countless times from the previous hero. Although her attack was neutralized by Dariel, the hero excitedly invited him to join her party. However, Dariel firmly refused for the sake of his family. That day, Dariel was feeding his son when the hero disturbed him. She still hoped Dariel would join her party. Dariel directed her attention to a painting on the wall. He and Marika had agreed to commemorate each anniversary with a painting. Beyond that, village affairs demanded his constant attention. He didn't know if these matters outweighed defeating the Demon King, but they were deeply important to him. Nevertheless, the hero remained unwilling to give up. Additionally, Dariel recalled Droy's, how she had accompanied him patrolling the town. Watching the Demon Clan children playing, she had sworn to protect those smiles from invaders. Thus, he could never draw his blade against the Demon King's army. The next day, the hero secretly followed Dariel, unconvinced anything could surpass defeating the Demon King. Dariel visited the forge to mentally prepare the weaponsmith. While Dariel felt he didn't need to force enthusiasm for customers, the young smith's master had taught that adventurers entrusted their lives to blacksmiths, requiring unwavering commitment. Dariel reassured his anxieties. Later, the two disguised themselves as maids and went to the guild. There, Dariel's father-in-law strained his back while stubbornly mopping the floor, forcing Dariel to take over. Throughout the day, the hero witnessed Dariel's tireless dedication to maintaining the village. Satome remarked on Dariel's remarkable character, noting how everyone expressed gratitude to him. Marika soon arrived with Gran to walk Dariel home. As she watched the family of three disappear into the distance, the hero fell into a prolonged trance. She realized the weight of important things perhaps shouldn't be defined by others. After observing him all day, she sensed that for Dariel, serving the village held the same significance as her own mission as the hero. Afterwards, the hero sought a private conversation with Dariel. She stated that Dariel possessed immense talent but wondered where he learned the technique used to counter her ultimate move. While aura projection was used by many, only one person wielded it with exceptionally devastating power: the former hero. The move Dariel used was identical to the former hero's biting. Dariel was dumbfounded. He had often seen the hero use it during his time in the Demon King's army, and thought it was merely a minor skill. Thus, he could only continue feigning ignorance. The hero found this exasperating. He could easily see through her techniques yet lacked such basic knowledge. She believed his power should be used to protect all humanity. Dariel explained that the Demon King's army mobilized solely to stop heroes attempting to defeat the Demon King. Conflict wouldn't arise if heroes didn't attack. The hero couldn't agree, as it was the Demon Clan that turned the former hero into a demon. Specifically, the Demon Kings of the Four Kings killed the former hero's wife and abducted his child. Though he slew the murderous Four Kings, his son's body was never found. Therefore, the former hero entrusted the current hero to fight relentlessly to prevent such tragedies from recurring. Yet Dariel knew the Demon King's army viewed killing non-combatants as shameful. Everyone fought only to protect their comrades. Both sides had families of their own. He wished to see no conflict between the two peoples. Moved by Dariel's words, the hero realized she lacked not weapons or teammates, but a strong heart. To grow stronger, she asked Dariel to become her teacher, since besides the former hero, he was the strongest person she had ever met. She hoped Dariel would train her rigorously. Dariel felt this might seem ungrateful to the Demon King's army, but if the hero stayed by his side, it could temporarily prevent conflict. The next day, Lizette approached Dariel again to express gratitude because Dariel agreed to trade mithril ore with the Demon Clan. Former colleague Lizette thus earned the Demon King's favor and was promoted to a newly established position equal in rank to the Four Kings. This role hadn't existed before because Dariel's presence had rendered it unnecessary. Unexpectedly, Zeviantes of the Four Kings overheard and took offense, displeased by the implication that the Four Kings were incompetent. As punishment, Zeviantes used Lizette as a human bench. Seeing guests, Marika went to prepare drinks, but Zeviantes remained unaware of the gravity of her remarks and continued mocking Dariel for being useless in the past.
Marika!
Zeviantes backed down and clarified she had come for the mithril ore. Within the Demon Clan, acquiring mithril ore required dealing exclusively with Lizette, which was why she had secretly followed him here. Dariel knew Zeviantes' abilities excelled at stealth, making it unsurprising Lizette hadn't detected her. Zeviantes then demanded Dariel surrender all the mithril ore. Dariel refused outright. When Zeviantes attempted to resort to force, Marika's icy glare filled her with terror. Dariel decided to take her outside for some air. Yet, upon reaching the forest, Zeviantes immediately tried to teach him a lesson. Dariel instructed Lizette not to intervene, as he could be dismissed by the demon clan if he did. Dariel used a feint to trick Zeviantes and defeated her in a single move. Zeviantes protested it didn't count and demanded a rematch, but each time she proved no match for Dariel. Infuriated, Zeviantes resolved to blow away the entire village with magic. Dariel countered Zeviantes' storm using the former hero's ultimate technique. Zeviantes then plummeted from high altitude, and Dariel swiftly grabbed her clothes to save her. After landing safely, Dariel found himself holding Zeviantes' underwear. Humiliated and furious, Zeviantes threatened to tell Marika. To appease her, Dariel agreed to trade with her as well, on the condition she kept that day's events secret. Zeviantes accepted the terms and also requested a weapon identical to Dariel's. Dariel took her to the forge workshop and asked the blacksmith to craft a weapon infused with magic power. At that moment, Dariel remembered the hero would soon return. He instructed the blacksmith to stall Zeviantes as long as possible while he intercepted the hero and her two companions at the village entrance. Dariel forcibly assigned a job to Companion and instructed the hero to perform 10,000 sword swings. After completing her training, the hero headed to the bathhouse. Dariel followed and discovered the blacksmith had also arrived there. The blacksmith apologized for failing to detain Zeviantes. Overhearing signs of conflict between the two, Dariel barged in to separate them. He must be the most reckless man alive, daring to take advantage of both the hero and the demon clan simultaneously. Marika, ever virtuous, refrained from disturbing the trio's discussion. For Dariel, however, this was pure torment. The hero confronted him first, demanding why he was so close to the demons of the Four Kings. Dariel realized the secret couldn't be hidden any longer. He confessed he was a human raised among demons, and had disclosed this when proposing to Marika. Yet Marika remained indifferent to his past. Her deepest affection for him would never change. The hero then turned her accusation toward Zeviantes. As one of the demon clan's 4 kings, she had no reason to linger in a human village. Zeviantes retorted that it was none of her business. With Dariel anxiously placating the situation, Marika ultimately stepped in with impartial authority, suggesting that the two resolve their differences through direct combat for better mutual understanding. Neither party objected. Dariel volunteered to witness the duel but stipulated that neither could take the other's life regardless of the outcome. The hero readily agreed. However, Zeviantes insisted that fights should end only with death. Dariel and Marika coerced her into compliance by threatening her access to mithril ore and meals. Zeviantes reluctantly yielded. Dariel scheduled the duel for the next morning. Consequently, Zeviantes demanded to eat her fill at dinner. The hero mocked her for being overly relaxed. Zeviantes countered that she was conserving energy for tomorrow. Learning from Dariel that the forge workshop possessed an iron bathtub, the hero instantly rose from her seat. Soaking in warm water 2 hours before bed ensured sounder sleep. Not to be outdone, Zeviantes chased after her. Both suddenly awakened simultaneously in the dead of night. At dawn, the group arrived at the duel venue only to freeze in shock. Both the hero and Zeviantes wore expressions of utter contentment. Overnight, they had realized the duel's greatest advantage lay in obtaining the mithril weapon first. A fierce confrontation loomed, a climactic battle between mage and warrior. Meanwhile, Marika arrived with lunchboxes and Gran to witness the fight. At first, the hero and Zeviantes were evenly matched. Then Zeviantes was struck down from high altitude. Refusing defeat, Zeviantes ascended again and chanted a magic incantation. The hero also unleashed her most proficient attack. The collision of these two assaults generated an overwhelmingly powerful shockwave. Dariel had no choice but to intervene by deploying a defensive barrier. The commotion also woke Gran, who looked at Zeviantes and the hero's chests and lunged toward them. At that moment, a landslide occurred. Dariel immediately shielded Gran in his arms, while the hero and Zeviantes shattered the falling rocks. It turned out Gran thought they were playing with him. Through this incident, the hero and the 4 kings quickly grew amicable. During combat, each had recognized the absence of lethal intent in the other, signifying their mutual compatibility. This harmonious scene was precisely what Dariel had most desired to witness. He firmly believes that one day humans and demons will share laughter and joy together. The next day, former hero Aronsil suddenly visited the village, and Zeviantes had not yet departed. Dariel urgently reminded her that this man was the strongest former hero, whose chest scar was inflicted by the Four Kings Granbaza. Dariel had always assumed him to be a cold-blooded machine. Unexpectedly, Arancil adored children immensely, and fans seeking his autograph crowded the entire village. Afterwards, Arancil shook hands with Xeviantes. She mistook the former hero for being gentle, without realizing his kindness extended only to humans. Dariel urged her to leave secretly and avoid using magic to evade Arancil's detection. However, she insisted on finishing her snack first. Arancil had come specifically for the current hero, Reddy. He believed it was too soon for Reddy to be venturing out. Now that his injuries had fully healed, he intended to teach her combat skills previously left untaught. Afterwards, Dariel led them to the training grounds, but Arancil sensed a suspicious presence nearby. It turned out to be Gashida greeting Dariel through the window. Tired of constantly being watched by men, Dariel asked him to focus instead on observing the spar between the two generations of heroes. While signing autographs for villagers, Arancil coached the hero, yet her sword could not touch him, and he knocked her to the ground with one hand. He acknowledged she hadn't neglected training and her swordsmanship had improved. The hero confessed it was due to training with Dariel, whom she recognized as the second strongest human after Arancil. Hearing this, Arancil became intrigued and wished to spar with Dariel. However, Dariel was reluctant to fight. Others also doubted Dariel could ever match Arancil. Only Gashida firmly believed Dariel was the strongest. With no choice, Dariel steeled himself to confront Arancil. Facing the former hero directly, Dariel confirmed his previous impression was correct. Arancil's presence was utterly terrifying. Thus, Dariel excused himself, claiming he needed to eat first to fight properly. Arancil agreed and was highly satisfied with Marika's cooking. Since his wife's passing, he had never eaten lunchboxes prepared by others. Dariel recalled Reddy's words. It was after that loss the former hero transformed into a demon. This made Dariel couldn't help worrying about Marika and Gran. Elsewhere, Xeviantes felt Arancil wasn't as terrifying as Dariel claimed but still intended to follow his advice and walk back. However, she instinctively used magic to catch a bedsheet blown away by the wind. This brief magical fluctuation was detected by Arancil. His eyes turned crimson as he hurled his weapon into the distance, striking Xeviantes' clothing. The next instant, Arancil appeared beside her. Terrified, Xeviantes watched as Arancil drew a dagger to kill her. Dariel arrived just in time and blocked the attack. While the demon clan causing Arancil to transform into a demon again was terrifying, Dariel absolutely forbade anyone from harming others in the village. The Demon King possessed an ability. The stronger the observer, the more fearsome his appearance became. At this moment, Granbaza, the strongest four kings in history, noted the Demon King's visage had grown even more ferocious. The Demon King also knew Granbaza had grown stronger, and that he had a request. It turned out Granbaza wished the Demon King would remove Bashvaza from his position as Four Kings. Bashvaza had abandoned his Four Kings duties, holed up in his room for an entire year. Currently, only droids supported the Demon King's army. For the sake of the Demon King's army, Granbaza hoped to dismiss Bashvaza. The Demon King, however, believed Granbaza was actually angry because Bashvaza had driven Dariel away since Granbaza cherished the foundling Dariel more. 33 years ago, before the Water Four Kings passed away, he revealed he possessed a trump card against the hero. Following his instructions, Granbaza found a hidden tree hollow containing the infant Dariel. Since then, he had vowed to raise Dariel to adulthood. Granbaza denied the Demon King's interpretation, stating both were his most precious sons. The Demon King then revealed Dariel's current location. He wasn't sure if Granbaza could bring him back, because Dariel had already integrated into human life. Meanwhile, to protect the Demon Clan's Four Kings, Dariel was forced to confront Arancil, history's strongest hero. Soon both engaged in direct combat. However, Dariel was no match for Arancil yet. While being repelled, Dariel materialized a whip to pull Xeviantes into his embrace. Arancil was astonished that someone besides himself possessed innate mastery of 4 aura attributes from birth. Consequently, he urged Dariel to replace Reddy as the new hero and join him in eradicating the demons. Seeing Dariel flatly refuse, Arancil ceased hesitating and unleashed his ultimate technique. Unexpectedly, Dariel also wielded this move. The resulting energy explosion blasted Dariel away. Reddy pleaded for mercy, but Arancil, eyes crimson, disregarded her. He couldn't comprehend why Dariel protected demons. Dariel explained it wasn't about race. He simply couldn't bear to see anyone harmed. Arancil dismissed this, citing the ancient conflict between both races, unless Dariel intended to single-handedly create world peace. Yet Dariel embraced exactly that goal, not from nobility, but because he couldn't endure the pain of witnessing others suffer. Knowing Arancil's past tragedies, and now having his own wife and child, merely imagining their loss made life unbearable. Even the timid Zeviantes mattered deeply to him, and he refused to lose her too. He revealed his past to Arancil. 33 years ago, the Water Four Kings found him and entrusted Granbaza to raise him. Realizing something was amiss, Arancil questioned Dariel's age. Upon learning he was 33, Arancil became certain Dariel was his long-lost son. It coincided precisely with the year the Water Four Kings murdered his wife, after which his son vanished. Dariel's story combined with his 4 aura attributes proved his lineage. Suddenly, sensing powerful magic atop the mountain, Arancil realized Granbaza had come to the village searching for Dariel. Arancil prepared to fight upon seeing Granbaza. Dariel pleaded with his hero father to show mercy, as Granbaza was the benefactor who raised him. Granbaza had only just learned from the Demon King that Dariel was the hero's son. Although when Dariel was 5 and still couldn't use magic, Granbaza had already suspected he might be human. Unable to bear parting with him, Granbaza still couldn't bring himself to send Dariel back to human society. Dariel held no grudge against him. It was precisely because Granbaza was by his side that he never felt unhappy. But Granbaza gained something invaluable from Dariel. The time spent together made Granbaza stronger. It was Dariel's respect that enabled him to become the strongest. Arancil raged over those stolen years. He should have been the one growing stronger while bonding with his son. Yet now his heart held only hatred. Even though his son lived, he had permanently lost those precious father-son years, left alone to bear hatred and anger. Granbaza offered himself as an outlet for Arancil's rage. The Water Four Kings' actions were utterly despicable, and as their colleague, he felt responsible to atone for their sin. He originally intended to bring Dariel back to the Demon King's army, but now changed his mind, wishing only for Dariel to find happiness with his biological father. Watching the two fathers ready to fight to the death, Dariel lacked the standing to intervene. At the critical moment, his wife had to step in. Marika doused both men with a bucket of cold water, extinguishing their fury. She didn't care about their hardships but insisted their grandsons shouldn't witness their ugly conflict. Thanks to Marika's intervention, Dariel knew what to do. He declared that if Granbaza wished for his happiness, he must live a long life. And though Arancil lost father-son time, he could try creating grandfather-grandson memories instead. After the conflict resolved, Dariel deeply thanked his wife and felt fortunate to have married her. Within the demon clan's territory, Bashvaza arrived at the restaurant he had booked, only to find it completely empty. His subordinate admitted the guests weren't late but absent. Everyone had declined Bashvaza's invitation. Only then did he learn his father had pleaded with the Demon King to dismiss him from his position, solely because he had caused the Demon King's army to splinter. Not only the mithril mines but also the trust of the common people and demi-humans had been lost. If he wanted to change the situation, the only way was to retrieve Dariel to continue his role as aide. The mention of Dariel annoyed him, and he wanted to drink, but even the restaurant refused service. Lately, he had accumulated significant unpaid debts. The reason he previously could get credit was solely because Dariel had been present back then. With Dariel there to supervise him, they could operate with peace of mind. Even without Dariel present, Bashvaza already felt his pride was being rubbed in the dirt. In a rage, he directly exploded the restaurant. He blamed all his humiliation on Dariel, vowing to burn Dariel until not even ashes remained to vent his fury. The murderous intent in one's eyes cannot be concealed, solely because someone else shared a closer bond with their grandson than they did. Both men were fearsome figures to all, yet now they uniformly transformed into kindly-looking grandfathers. Suddenly, Gran began whimpering and grunting. Marika knew he was about to wet himself. Just then, Lizette's communication came through, heard by Gran, who clamored to speak with her. He claimed a bearded old man was attacking him. Lizette boldly told Dariel to hand the communicator to that bearded man. Unexpectedly, the person Gran mentioned turned out to be the strongest four kings. Granbaza grew jealous that someone else was so affectionate with his grandson. He vowed to deal with Lizette properly after returning. The most uncomfortable person present was undoubtedly Dariel's father-in-law. As an ordinary adventurer, sharing a table with them brought immense pressure. Dariel also felt helpless with 3 father figures present, unsure whom to address first. Handling 2 sets of in-laws was more exhausting than his father-in-law going on missions. Granbaza reminisced about when Dariel was 5, struggling with magic training. Even when crying, Dariel persevered with practice. Arancel envied this, wishing he could have such father-son memories. But now he had accepted reality. Spending these days with Dariel made him understand his son had been raised by a wonderful father. Thus, he deeply thanked Granbaza for nurturing Dariel so splendidly. Dariel felt distressed seeing his wife's injured hands, still stubbornly helping Marika clear the dishes. Marika, equally concerned for her husband, pulled him back to their room to change his bandages. She had been very worried about Dariel today. If Arancel weren't Dariel's father, she would have punched him long ago. Dariel had also acted recklessly today. Yet she loved precisely this gentle side of him. Before leaving, Marika reminded him to eat dessert before taking his medicine. Unexpectedly, as soon as Marika left, Zeviantes sought out Dariel. She came specifically to check Dariel's injuries, but Dariel was more concerned about Zeviantes' psychological well-being. Certain she must have been terrified facing the formidable Arancel. Zeviantes hadn't realized Dariel liked her so much, and had even publicly declared his affection for her. Dariel was dumbfounded. She vowed to think seriously before giving him an answer. However, Dariel's words weren't actually meant romantically. Yet Zeviantes felt satisfied seeing Dariel's flustered appearance. Elsewhere, the hero still wished Arancel would continue training her. Even though she knew not all demons were evil, defeating the Demon King remained the hero's mission. Humanity publicly claimed the Demon King was the root of all calamity worldwide, asserting that defeating him would usher in an era of peace. Successive generations of heroes firmly believed this. But as the strongest hero in history, Arancel knew this was merely rhetoric for ordinary people. In this world, the Demon King possessed ultimate wisdom and power. Nations and guilds believed defeating him would allow them to seize all this, aiming for human evolution into a higher race. Legends said magic was bestowed upon demons by the Demon King. Granbaza acknowledged such legends existed. Dariel suggested asking the Demon King directly about such matters. The hero was surprised to hear the legendary Demon King might still be alive, which was indeed true. The Demon King had remained unchanged since Granbaza's appointment, highly likely being an immortal being. Granbaza no longer insisted the hero must confront the Demon King, but the hero decided to continue fighting. She wanted to seek her own answers firsthand. Suddenly, adventurers guarding the mine arrived in the village seeking help, reporting a monster attack at the mine. Upon reaching the mine, they encountered a creature even the hero had never seen. Survivors indicated the gnome clan inside the mine had not yet escaped. Hearing this, Dariel immediately headed for the mine, leaving the task of subduing the creature before them to the others. This member of the 4 kings remained overly confident despite his weakness, attempting to single-handedly eliminate humanity's strongest fighter. Consequently, he ordered his subordinates to attack the human mithril mine. Arancel accompanied Dariel to rescue the gnome clan. Outside, Granbaza seemed to discern something significant about the attacking dragon. With Zeviantes' wind magic providing support, the hero's party joined forces in attacking the dragon yet failed to inflict any damage. As the dragon's breath attack loomed, Satome stood at the front to block the flames, only to have his armor crumble to ash. Granbaza absorbed all the flames entirely. He recognized it as the legendary Flame Beast. Meanwhile, Dariel prepared to rescue the gnome clan, but the Flame Beast tracked him down by scent. Father and son had no choice but to deal with the Flame Beast first. They simultaneously unleashed their strongest attacks, knocking the Flame Beast down, after which it inexplicably flew away. The hero sensed overwhelming hatred emanating from the Flame Beast, while Dariel detected a strangely nostalgic aura. Granbaza suddenly announced he needed to return to the Demon King's castle. He grabs Zeviantes' clothing and demands that she transport him back. Following the incident, the gnome clan emerged unharmed and hailed Dariel as their savior. However, Dariel looked at the injured behind him with deep guilt for failing to protect everyone. Arancel advised him not to shoulder everything alone, emphasizing that those in high positions also needed to rely on others' strength. When Granbaza returned to the Demon King's castle, he found Bashvaza elegantly drinking tea. He asked if Bashvaza had entered that secret chamber. Bashvaza's feigned ignorance angered Granbaza, frightening Zeviantes into silence. The so-called secret chamber was a hidden room within the Demon King's castle, storing all forbidden spells developed throughout history. They were double-edged swords. Their power far surpassed any widely circulated magic, yet they carried extremely high risks during use, hence their ceiling. Among them was a spell capable of controlling magical beasts. Granbaza had sensed Bashvaza's will within the flame beast and knew Bashvaza was secretly manipulating it. At that moment, he realized Bashvaza's year-long disappearance must have been spent searching for magical beasts across the lands. He felt disappointed that Bashvaza, unlike Dariel, possessed excellent magical talent, yet consistently squandered his abilities. The mere mention of Dariel made Bashvaza lose rationality. He demanded whether Granbaza himself wasn't consorting with the human hero instead, having witnessed it through the flame beast's eyes. Granbaza hadn't expected this rebellious son to master mental synchronization magic. This magic not only eroded the user's physical body, but also ravaged their mind, ultimately blurring the boundary between self and others. Granbaza angrily declared that Bashvaza, as one of the four kings, disregarded the people's safety and was utterly unworthy of the title. Bashvaza, however, remained indifferent, believing that eliminating both the former and current heroes simultaneously would make his merits endure for eternity. Elsewhere, within the mine tunnels, Dariel suddenly encountered a massive face. The entity addressed Dariel by name, asking if they knew each other. This frightened Dariel into fleeing immediately, but the being blocked his escape route, stating that because of Dariel, its body had been burned by an old friend. Dariel admitted he was indeed the person it sought. If its old friend referred to the flame beast, he was willing to apologize, but he did not understand why this was blamed on him. The large face explained the flame beast mirrored the caster's anger. It demanded Dariel surrender a part of itself, specifically what was called mithril ore. Upon hearing this, Dariel drew his dagger. The massive face was actually the earth beast, one of the four great magical beasts, and mithril ore was fragments of its own body. Seeing its body crafted so beautifully, the earth beast enchanted Dariel's weapon. It also warned Dariel the village was about to become a battlefield. Granbaza called to warn that the flame beast was controlled by Bashvaza, who intended to kill both generations of heroes. Dariel understood he was Bashvaza's true target, but Bashvaza planned to destroy the village first, so Dariel could experience losing everything he cherished. Marika thoughtfully prepared protective gear for Dariel and placed a ring on his finger as a talisman. The ring would stay with him constantly, serving as Marika's presence. The group then gathered at the village entrance awaiting Bashvaza. Soon, the flame beast arrived at the village carrying Bashvaza. Finding the sky too dark, Bashvaza created a massive fireball for illumination. Aransil recognized this as Granbaza's ultimate large-scale annihilation magic, which could endanger the user if mishandled. Dariel stretched out his arm to stop Aransil from intervening. He wanted to talk with Bashvaza properly. Bashvaza noticed the wedding ring on Dariel's finger. As a single man, he felt offended. He then began recounting his childhood, explaining how, whenever he fell, unfamiliar older sisters would comfort him. Growing up, he learned a harsh truth. The more attachments one has, the deeper the pain when losing them. Therefore, he vowed to first make Dariel a widower by burning the village, leaving him utterly alone again. Enraged by this, Dariel transfigured his dagger into a long whip, ensnared the flame beast, and forcefully slammed it onto the ground. At that moment, Zeviantes arrived with Granbaza, attempting to stop Bashvaza. Dariel entrusted the others to deal with the flame beast while he lured Bashvaza to a deserted area. Initially believing Bashvaza's anger stemmed from the mine incident, Dariel didn't realize it was jealousy over everything Dariel possessed, leaving him baffled by the hatred. Bashvaza declared this was his dream, to end the human-demon war. He accused Dariel of betraying the demon race, completely forgetting that he himself had driven Dariel away. Bashvaza asserted that eliminating Dariel and the hero would make humanity easily conquerable, allowing him to surpass his father as the strongest of the four kings. He then displayed his formidable magical talent, overwhelming Dariel with a rapid combo of attacks. He revealed spending a year taming the flame beast specifically to defeat Dariel. Dariel countered that Bashvaza was the most brilliantly talented person he knew, but his unbalanced development made his personal conduct disastrous. He confessed he had intended to support Bashvaza all along, but Bashvaza refused to believe him and prepared to kill Dariel. Dariel, however, was faster, deflecting the attack. This action thoroughly enraged Bashvaza, prompting him to transform into his draconic form, a trump card originally reserved for eliminating the hero, now forced into premature use against Dariel. The flame beast, tamed by Bashvaza, continued to rampage through the village. By now, Gashida had grown strong enough to confront the flame beast. As for Aransil, since retiring, fighting alongside others once more made him feel like a true hero again. marking the first united front between humans and demons in history. Arancil drew the flame beast's attention to its face, while Granbaza unleashed his ultimate technique, Endless Purgatory, to strike it down. Zeviantes was stunned by Granbaza's overwhelming strength, marveling that he used fire to defeat a fire attribute magical beast. Meanwhile, Bashvaza and Dariel fought fiercely with neither gaining advantage. Bashvaza despised Dariel's ever-present smile, and finally seized the chance to obliterate his hated rival. He too created a colossal fireball using Endless Purgatory. Unable to hold back to stop Bashvaza, Dariel transformed his dagger into a luminous greatsword and swung it down toward Bashvaza. However, Bashvaza's body was severely eroded by the forbidden spell, making him feel like a magical beast to Dariel. Bashvaza pinned Dariel to the ground, brutally grinding him before hurling him away. Then, a pair of claws lunged directly at Dariel. Dariel blocked with his dagger and attempted to awaken Bashvaza by invoking Granbaza's name, but this only escalated Bashvaza's fury. At that moment, Dariel witnessed Bashvaza's memories. As a child, Bashvaza greatly admired Granbaza and aspired to become one of the 4 kings like his father. Granbaza declared Bashvaza must first become the strongest 4 kings. But one day, Granbaza suddenly introduced Dariel and commanded Bashvaza to rely on him like an older brother. Bashvaza couldn't accept this sudden brother or sharing his father with Dariel. He asked his mother to join the Demon King's army, but she sent him to Magic Academy instead. When Bashvaza graduated top of his class and became a 4 kings candidate, his mother disappointedly remarked that even her son refused to stay by her side. Yet Bashvaza had no choice. The day he finally became a 4 kings coincided with Granbaza's retirement. Granbaza entrusted Bashvaza to Dariel's guidance, but Bashvaza only wanted to remain with his father. Dariel finally understood Bashvaza's profound loneliness. Bashvaza realized Dariel could see his inner thoughts and rejected his pity. To dissolve the 4 kings' wrath, Dariel confessed they were alike. He was the son of the previous hero, abducted by the former Water 4 kings, and had always lived in insecurity. Bashvaza saw Dariel's heart, how he agonized over not being their true family and his inability to use magic. Dariel maintained his smile to avoid burdening others until meeting Bashvaza, when he finally felt a sense of home, so now he would become Bashvaza's anchor until peace returned. Bashvaza was persuaded. Had he not thrown a tantrum but taken Dariel's hand that day, the outcome would have been much better. This time, he wanted to grasp Dariel's hand. But the forbidden spell's side effects emerged as the distant flame beast began absorbing Bashvaza's magical power, finally unleashing the true might of one of the 4 great magical beasts. To atone, Bashvaza forcibly controlled the beast using the flesh fusion forbidden spell to drive it away, though he would soon lose control. Having unburdened his heart, Bashvaza felt no regret. Granbaza arrived and separated him from the beast's body, while Dariel descended from the sky and annihilated the flame beast instantly. The bond between father and son was finally mended. After resolving the village crisis, Marika prepared plentiful meats and fish as a reward for Dariel. She then rushed out the door to greet him. Dariel sensed Marika's astonishing speed and debated whether to use his aura to block the impact, but ultimately chose to catch her with his own body. Meanwhile, in the Demon King's castle, Bashvaza stood alone before the Demon King. He had resolved to accept any punishment. Due to Bashvaza's inner growth, the Demon King now appeared to him in an adult form. The Demon King commanded Bashvaza to look downward, where he saw hell beneath his feet, imprisoning all past 4 kings who had committed crimes throughout history, eternally suffering and screaming in torment. He offered Bashvaza a choice: repent and retain his position as a 4 king, or fall into hell with no salvation. Though acknowledging Bashvaza's youth and remorse, the Demon King was willing to grant him a chance. Yet Bashvaza chose hell, recognizing his unforgivable actions. Evading responsibility would bring no change. Finding this outcome tedious, the Demon King exiled Bashvaza just as Bashvaza had once dismissed Dariel. Bashvaza then returned to the village with Granbaza. The hero accused him of reckless actions that severely damaged the mines and injured many people. Bashvaza stopped Granbaza from defending him and apologized to all present for the destruction he caused. At that moment, Gran grew excited upon seeing a new face, prompting Dariel to instruct Gran to call Bashvaza brother. Recalling Dariel's earlier heartfelt words, Bashvaza desired redemption, for everyone present was deeply important to his brother. The moment moved those gathered. To commemorate Gran's first complete utterance of a person's name, Dariel decided to capture the moment in a painting. Gashida, functioning like a human-like camera machine, drew a family portrait for Dariel. Later, Bashvaza resolved to travel the world. Before departing, he would seek out those he had harmed and offer compensation. He wished to witness firsthand what Dariel cherished and strive to become someone like Dariel.